Hello, and welcome to Miami's Global Connection, a show sponsored by the United Nations Association of Greater Miami. I'm your host, Whitney Belker. Accion USA is a national nonprofit organization and the largest micro-lender in the U.S., providing loans ranging from $500 to $25,000 to low and moderate income small business owners and micro-entrepreneurs. Small business owners that qualify include both home-based businesses as well as those with storefronts who are shut out of the traditional banking sector. Often these small business owners lack the collateral and credit history to borrow from a bank. In an effort to bridge this credit gap, Accion USA provides these entrepreneurs with the small loans, allowing them to grow their businesses while building their credit histories. Today we will discuss the success of Accion USA, the importance of micro-lending, as well as how to apply for a microloan. Joining me in the studio is the director of Accion USA, Luz Gomez. Luz, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So tell me a little bit about Accion. When did it begin?
Well, Accion actually has a long history in Latin America. We started in 1973 internationally with this whole concept of providing access to credit to very small business owners. But in the U.S., we started in 1991, really taking those learnings here into the U.S. And since then, we've been providing microloans to entrepreneurs across the United States.
Wow, and where is the headquarters for Accion?
Well, really, we have our central office in Boston, which is where our international operations are as well. But right now, we have a U.S. network that's present in 9 states and over 30 cities across the U.S.
Wow. So what is the philosophy behind the very beginning and the inception of Accion? How did this whole organization come to be?
Well, really, the philosophy behind microlending in general is to provide access to credit to folks that are basically shut out of the traditional banking sector. In Latin America as well as here in the U.S., we want to support micro-entrepreneurs and provide them with financial services. So things as simple as credit for your small business. Oftentimes, folks can't just walk into your local bank branch and ask for a commercial loan. They simply don't qualify. So it has that philosophy of trying to help the small business owner, when they're real small mom-and-pop type operations, and hopefully help them grow and take them to the next level.
So how would you define a micro-enterprise or micro-entrepreneur?
Well, here in the U.S., we try to define it, somebody could be working by themselves or with up to 5 employees. So we're really getting at that small micro-entrepreneur, not what's typically called a small business owner, which could be defined as up to 100 employees. So
or in some cases, I think that one of the definitions that I saw through the Small Business Administration was up to even 300, 400 employees.
Yes, it's sort of a moving target for sure. And so what we want to do is really focus on the little guys, the folks that maybe are home based, working from home, just a one-man operation or one-woman operation, up to folks that maybe have a few employees but are still pretty small scale.
So how would you define the demand for such things as microloans?
Well, it's pretty incredible. We did a research study that basically took a sample of our programs across the United States back in 1999. And what we found, approximating with statisticals as well as qualitative methods, was that there was about 13 million micro-entrepreneurs across the United States with those characteristics, under 5 employees. So that's a huge market of folks that have, that probably need our services. When we took another slice of those statistics, about 80% had never received a bank loan. So there's a huge need, I think, and demand for the types of services that are out there, like Accion's.
So do you have any idea what percentage of those micro enterprises have tried to get bank loans and perhaps were rejected? And if so, do you know the reasons why they were rejected?
Sure. It's hard to know. Of those 80% that have never received a bank loan, some have been declined, and some have the perception that they can't qualify. And there's a lot of reasons why they might not be able to qualify. On the one hand, maybe they don't have a credit history. Maybe they're new to this country. Maybe they have to rebuild their credit history after, let's say, a bankruptcy. So those are sort of disqualifying factors, I should say, that
for the traditional bank loan process.
Exactly. But it's also, maybe it's a small scale operation. Maybe they only need $5,000 when banks usually start their commercial loans at $25,000. There's also some industries that banks won't touch. For example, restaurants. For example, some other like home-based businesses that are kind of difficult for them to underwrite unless they're a much larger scale. And so that's where Accion comes in and tries to fill the gap.
And so are there any industries that Accion will not work with?
It's interesting. I mean, I've seen everything pretty much working on Accion for the past 6 years.
For example?
Well, from your home-based jewelry maker to maybe a street vendor selling fruit or flowers to folks that have more sophisticated little manufacturing shops, carpenters, auto shops, shoe stores. So you name it, we've probably seen it and worked with them. So there's not really any restrictions on the types of businesses that we'll serve. There are some restrictions with regards to real estate speculation and things like that we aren't able to deal with. But basically, what we want to see is that it's good for the community. And if it's a small business that's producing for the community, it's usually right on our target.
So how is Accion working in the Miami community, and what can you share with us about some of the results?
Well, Accion here in Miami just started less than 2 years ago. So we're the baby of the Accion network, and it's pretty amazing. I'm always surprised at how fast the program has grown. We weren't expecting there to be such a huge demand. I mean, when we first came here, we saw that there was about 77 micro-entrepreneurs just in Dade alone. And so there's a huge, huge market of folks that are coming here and oftentimes starting up a small business. Maybe it's maybe they just came here to this country and they're brand new and they're looking to start something, maybe can't find employment. So I think the market for small business here, starting a small business here in Miami is pretty large.
So you mentioned